Is the support role broken in Overwatch? If you want the short answer, yes, it absolutely is. But if you want the long answer, it all starts by watching this clip first.
Yeah.
They're looking at me now. I'm gonna pull them
It is
together.
so ridiculous that they can do that, right? Be an absolute shitter. See, if the Sojourn commits, right, he dies because it's fair. If the Kiri commits, she can just get out after missing everything. That was the perfect example. These last 20 seconds showed everything that's wrong.
We really have to look at how this played out for support here and the problems that Kiriko has. And honestly, Metro did a really good job of laying out why Kiriko is such a problem. This is 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kunais that he missed. But because the Suzu lets the Kiriko live, and then later gets to just, oh, that's 10 kunais, 11 kunais missed, just gets to TP out. Right here, that's just, you know, the reality of what support is in Overwatch right now in terms of damage, immortality field, mobility, ultimate, everything about this is a really big problem. And then the Sojourn commits the one piece of mobility that she has to try to get on this soldier. Realistically, really should win this 1v1 just because of Sojourn as a character and how strong she is, but gets dunked on by Metro as well. Now, I'm not saying Metro probably could have lasered the Kiriko better as well, but when this is the reality of what you're playing into every single game, that support is this strong, you can kind of start to understand why Metro is starting to get really tilted here. And I think that the argument has a lot of merit along with it. And the reality is, though, the problems don't end here. The problems also with Ana. A lot of the community is getting really disappointed with where Ana is and how strong she is as a character with the CCs and the nanos and just overall the output that she has alongside her anti-nade. People are still getting annoyed by that. And the reality of it is that her nade is too strong, too much damage, all of this, too much output compared to what a DPS is. And I think we really have to look at Kiriko, though, because it's really not just Ana or just Kiriko. The fact that Kiriko, with her kunais, does 45 damage on a body shot, 120 on a headshot, has the best utility in terms of mobility out of honestly any character in the game. That might be a little bit of a stretch, but at least out of all the supports on a 7-second cooldown. And an immortality field on 15 seconds compared to Baptiste. I'm pretty sure it's a 24 or a 25 second. Might be a 23 now. Might have gotten buffed a little bit because of Kiriko. Plus one of the best healing options in the game and ultimates. Because the healing, because it's delayed, you get a lot of utility out of that. You can send it in early. You can make it track across the map. There's a lot of opportunity for carrying with that healing as well. Overall, Kiriko is a dumb support. She's probably the strongest on paper out of everyone. The only thing is that she doesn't have AoE heals, but then you get a Lucio or a Brig or Moira or whatever. Really just Lucio. Just play Lucio. And you're fine. And it makes up for that weakness. On top of speed, you have a duo that's just set up for success that's been meta for a very long time in Overwatch 2, or at least playable. And herein lies the problem now. We've gotten to a point where because Kiriko was released into the game, support is broken. And, you know, this is coming from a support player that makes support content. Support as a role is by far the strongest in terms of numbers and just how much you need to do to be winning against other players that are in your role. But that's a whole different story. At the end of the day, support players, we have the highest numbers. And that's just factual. And support it shouldn't be like this. And I think we should really turn back to where support was at the start of Overwatch 2. Before Kiriko, support, people used to think was weak. People used to think this role was weak and needed more. And I mean, we made videos at the start of Overwatch. I actually think I took that down at the start of Overwatch 2. That support is good. We were just bad at it. And the more that we see this game develop, the more we're starting to see that take was real. I mean, the thing is, support was in the most balanced state in that moment. It was sustainable. It was susceptible to death, but it wasn't like we were going to die every single time if we actually made good plays, if we hit sleep darts, if we saved nade for ourselves, if we played around our team and tried to call for peel when we needed it, if we could anticipate it. There was a lot more macro play. There was a lot more micro play that really had to come out of us on support players in order to get that value. As a result, the game was more punishing and was a lot more responsive, but because of that, it was a lot more rewarding when we were actually good at our role and didn't just have stupid utility to get us out of jail free when we really should just be there in the first place. Before all that, you know, it was great. We could have our skill directly translate into good gains. I was top 73 in that meta. That was or top 100 in that meta. It was very fun. But then Kiriko comes to ranked, and it's buffs across the board for all the supports to compensate for a support with this much utility. And now we are where we are, in a state of the game that is just clearly not good and is not going up in a very good trajectory. It's not going to be going back to anywhere where it was in Overwatch 1. We have what we have, and it's just going to get more and more annoying as time goes on, at least for supports. And the game was doomed competitively from the start if you have stuff like this. But the reason why I'm bringing this up, and the reason why I'm doing an unformal video, is because a video format like this is better for discussion. This problem is a problem that is very different for every single rank. I'm sure in Platinum, some people really do still feel like support is bad and that support doesn't feel very good. And you know what? They might be right. Maybe in those ranks, you need that little extra utility to try and carry your team. The reality of it is, for me though, at the top rank, and for a lot of other players in GM, is that have been playing since day one of Overwatch 1, is that this build of the game does not feel good. It just doesn't. Support does way too much, but the reality of it is we need to be more constructive here. We can't just complain about supports. We have to actually give somewhat of a reasoning why this is annoying and where we could go from here. And the reality of it is that support as a role is one of the hardest things to balance as a game developer in any game. I don't really know if any game has done it really right. I mean, a lot of games have died because supports have been way too strong, or it's just negligent. It's negligible, and we just run 5 DPS anyways. And I think finding that happy medium is something that's really difficult, and to be honest, I don't really know how to do that. Like, how do you give meaningful agency to someone that is playing support outside of just healing? Because if you do too much healing, it's boring for everyone else because they feel like their damage is not meaningful. If you don't heal at all, though, then there's no reason to heal at all, and you just play DPS. If you have utility then to make up for that that's too strong, then it feels like supports are really just DPS with utility, and that's kind of where we are in Overwatch. It's like we do a lot of healing, but we also have a lot of utility, and that's why it feels terrible. So like, how do we find that happy medium that makes newer players still feel okay to learn the role, but also not be so busted at high ranks? And honestly, I don't really have that answer. All I know is that in every game that I've played thus far, a lot of the death comes down to you release these characters that are supporting roles that just get a lot of utility and a lot of value out of just simply existing. And that's what's happened with Overwatch. Support players as a role, we have been coddled by characters that just get value through existing. And that's not how a game should be for every other role that has to really fight for that value. Like, you have to hit your shots on DPS. As tank, you have to have a decent understanding of space and how to control it. Supports, you could just lock Mercy for all I care, hold right click on a DPS, and they'll just do the game for you. Or you could just press M1 on Kiriko down a lane and eventually get a headshot to do 125, and then your Genji can just dash through it for a kill. That's not really where Overwatch should be, and I really think we have to start thinking of what is the ideal support. To be honest, it was when it first came out, but now that you have a character that has the potential of Kiriko and everyone else got buffed around the board to compensate, we've dug ourselves into a hole that is really hard to get out, and realistically, we have to start thinking of what is the next game we're going to. Is it going to stay Overwatch? To me, I don't think it's going to stay Overwatch long term, and we have to really challenge the developers of tomorrow to fix this problem, because it's going to continue being a problem unless we address it. So thank you guys all for watching. Honestly, this is probably going to be the last video I'm going to release before the holidays. So if you are celebrating the holidays with family, I wish you safe travels and just have a great time. If you're not and you're just chilling at home with friends, the Discord is always open. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of events coming up soon. There's always someone to chill with. Don't feel like you're alone. I know this season can be hard for some people, but you have a community here in the Paz Nation. But yeah, thank you guys all so much for watching. Please let me know what you guys all think in the comments down below. But until next time, I've got to peace out and Paz out. I'll see you in the next one.